Chapter 11 The Threadmaster Cometh. Before I read on, I want to go back to the front of the book, to the picture of Despereaux. If you see here, this is a needle, and attached to it is thread. Before we had big sewing machines, we used those, or if you have to sew something small and delicate, or like a little hole or stitching, so that's what thread is. When Despereaux came to, he heard the drum. His father was beating a rhythm that had much more boom and much less tat. Could you imagine coming to knowing you're going to a dungeon and it's your dad playing the drum? Together, Lester and the drum produced an ominous sound that went something like this. Boom, 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 tat. Boom, 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 tat. Make way for the thread, cried a mouse who was pushing a wooden spool of red thread through the crowd. Make way for the thread. Boom, 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 tat went the drum. To the dungeon, shouted the mice. Despereaux lay on his back, blinking his eyes. How he wondered, how had things gone wrong so terribly wrong? Wasn't it a good thing to love? In the story, in the book, love was a very good thing. Because the knight loved the fair maiden, he was able to rescue her. They lived happily ever after. It said so in the book. They were the last words on the page, happily ever after. Despereaux was certain that he had read exactly those words time and time again. Lying on the floor with the drum beating and the mice shouting and the threadmaster calling out, Make way! Make way! Despereaux had a sudden, chilling thought. Had some other mouse eaten the words that spoke the truth? Did the knight and the fair maiden really not live happily ever after? Reader, do you believe that there is such a thing as happily ever after? Or, like Despereaux, have you too begun to question the possibility of happy endings? Oh, I hope not. It's happily ever after. Happily ever after, whispered Despereaux. Happily ever after. He said again as the spool of thread came to stop beside him. The thread, the thread, the thread, murmured the mice. I'm sorry, said the mouse behind the spool, but I have to ask you to stand up. I have to do my job. Despereaux got slowly to his feet. On your hind legs, please, said the threadmaster. It's the rules. Despereaux stood on his hind legs. Thank you, said the mouse. I appreciate it. While Despereaux watched, the threadmaster unwound a length of red thread from the spool and tied a loop. Just enough for the neck, muttered the mouse. No more, no less. That's what the last threadmaster taught me. Enough thread for the neck. He looked up at Despereaux and then back down at the loop of the thread. And you, my friend, have a small neck. The threadmaster raised his arms and put them around Despereaux's neck. He leaned in close, and Despereaux smelled celery. He could feel the threadmaster's breath in his ear as he worked at tightening the thread. Is she beautiful? The threadmaster whispered. What? Said Despereaux. Shh. Is the princess beautiful? The Princess P? Yes. She is lovely beyond all imagining, said Despereaux. Just right, the threadmaster said. He drew back. He nodded his head. A lovely princess, just so, like a fairy tale, and you love her as a knight loves a maiden. You love her with a courtly love, a love that is based on bravery and courtesy and honor and devotion, just so. How do you know that? Despereaux said. How do you know about fairy tales? Shh. The mouse leaned in close, and Despereaux smelled the celery again, green and alive. Be brave, friend, whispered the threadmaster. Be brave for the princess. And then he stepped back and turned and shouted, Fellow mice, the thread has been tied. The thread has been knotted. A roar of approval went up from the crowd. Despereaux squared his shoulders. He made a decision. He would do as the threadmaster had suggested. He would be brave for the princess. Even if, reader, could it be true? There was no such thing as happily ever after. Yes, there is.